There are people who speak beautifully, promise the world, swear eternal love and say they'll make you happy forever. But in the end, when life gets tough, they disappear. And that's when you discover, words build nothing, presence builds. This video is to open your eyes and make you see what no one told you about true love. Because true love isn't made of promises, it's made of actions. And the worst part is that we've been trained to believe the opposite, that love is waiting, demanding, idealizing. But what if I told you that this is precisely what destroys relationships and leaves you feeling empty, even when someone loves you? What you'll hear here can completely change the way you relate with others and with yourself. Because the love that lasts isn't the one that promises forever, it's the one that builds the now. And those who understand this begin to experience a kind of love that doesn't depend, doesn't demand, doesn't beg. A love that's free, yet strong, calm, yet real. If you've grown tired of lovers who talk a lot and do little, if you've given everything and felt like you got nothing, then stay with me until the end. Because today I'm going to show you, based on the teachings of Alan Watts, why those who truly love you don't promise you the world. They build you the present. And when you understand this, you'll never again accept crumbs disguised as love. Now you understand what true love truly is. Presence, construction, surrender in the now. This content opened your eyes to see that empty promises sustain nothing, and that only those willing to live in the present with you deserve to stay. This changes everything. And when something changes your way of loving, it's only fair to reciprocate what made you grow. Like this video and subscribe to the channel, because the next one will take you even deeper into this awakening. Each new video here is a step towards living more real, more conscious and freer relationships. You know, that kind of love that promises the world, talks about forever, swears it'll change everything. It's beautiful to hear, but in the end, you realize that words mean nothing when there's no presence. And that's where frustration sets in. Because we learn to believe in promises, but never learn to see actions. Have you ever noticed how easy it is for someone to charm you with words and then disappear when you need them most? Well, true love isn't about what someone says they'll do, it's about what they do, while tomorrow hasn't arrived yet. And that's what almost no one talks about. The problem is that we've been trained to believe that good love is full of promises, plans and grand gestures, but time shows us that what truly builds something are the little things. Presence, care, being there when the day is tough. Love isn't about swearing the impossible, it's about doing what's possible every day. It's there, in the routine, in the silence, in the simplicity, that you discover who's truly with you. And the curious thing is that the more a person promises, the less they live in the present. They're always pushing love back to later, until everything gets better. But love doesn't wait for the ideal scenario. It happens in the midst of chaos, when no one else has time, when the rest of the world seems distant. Alan Watts said that love can't be planned as a long-term project, because it only exists in the present. It's in the now that love lives, breathes, and transforms. When someone promises the future, they're trying to control something they'll never master. But when someone chooses to be with you today, even without certainty, that's when love becomes real. Because true love doesn't talk, it builds, and you feel it. You feel it in the way they listen to you, how they care, how they make you feel safe without needing 1,000 words. The saddest thing is that many people don't understand this and keep chasing after those who promise too much. They want to hear forever, when what they should be looking for is I'm here now. Because promises comfort the ego, but presence nourishes the heart. How many times have you believed someone who said, I'll never leave you, and at the first sign of trouble, they left? That's not love, that's fantasy. True love is what builds the present with you, even when tomorrow is still uncertain. And this is where the most profound part of this conversation comes in. As long as you continue to accept words, you will become accustomed to emptiness, because the love that transforms, that fulfills, doesn't promise, it acts. It proves itself every day in the details. Someone who truly loves you doesn't say, I'll give you the world. They say, let's live this together now. It's simple, but it's real. True love doesn't need guarantees, it needs presence. You know what's most curious? When you understand this, you start to see everything differently. You start to recognize what's real and what's just a show. You stop. Accepting rhetoric and start observing actions. And that's when your life changes. You stop chasing those who promise the future and start valuing those who build the present with you. Write your words in the comments below. Now, so I know that this penny has sunk in for you, because when this truth sinks in, you'll never look at an I love you the same way again. And the most amazing part is that when you learn to recognize this kind of love, the one that doesn't promise but builds, everything changes. You begin to understand why so many loves fall apart and why few truly last. And when you discover what truly sustains love, you realize there's something much deeper hidden beneath it all, something most people still can't see. Love is only real when it exists in the present. Everything that strays from this moment is fantasy, projection, a desire for control. And this is where almost everyone's mistake lies, trying to experience love as a future contract, rather than as an experience. Now, this is why so many people are disappointed. Most don't truly want to love. They want to possess, to secure, to hold on to what they fear losing. But, as Alan Watts said, love is like breathing. If you try to hold it in, it dies. And when you understand this, you begin to see the now as the only space where love can truly happen. Think about it. How many times has someone promised you to change, promised you that this time it would be different, and nothing has changed? Because true love doesn't live in words. It lives in today's actions. It's in the look of someone who listens attentively, in the embrace of someone who arrives even when tired, in the comfortable silence of someone who doesn't need to prove anything. This is the now. It's the moment where you truly feel reciprocity, presence, and truth. And it's curious how the ego hates this, because it wants security, it wants to know what comes next, it wants to plan love as if it were a perfect script. But life isn't a script, it's a constant improvisation. Alan Watts talked a lot about the fear of uncertainty. He said the human mind constantly tries to transform the unknown into something controllable. But love is exactly the opposite of that. It's trusting even without control. It's diving in knowing it might hurt, but choosing to live because it's there, in the now, that everything happens. True love is letting go of the idea of guarantees and accepting that each moment is unique and unrepeatable. It's the kind of love that doesn't promise it will last forever, but makes today so worthwhile that tomorrow ceases to be a worry. That's why love requires courage, because it's easier to hide behind promises than to truly be present. Promising the future costs nothing. Being fully present is something few achieve, and when you learn to be in the now, you stop needing promises, because you begin to see that real love is in the details, in spontaneous laughter, in silent care, in patience with imperfections. Loving in the now is understanding that every second is a construction, and that love isn't a straight line, it's a dance. Sometimes one leads, sometimes the other, but both need to be there, attentive to the same rhythm. And you know what's most beautiful? When you experience love like this, you stop trying to control it and start participating. You realize that love isn't a prize you win, it's something you build, a moment of truth shared between two people willing to be present. And it's in that moment that fear disappears, because when you're truly present, there's no room for what if, there's only is. And that's when love stops being a promise and becomes an experience. Maybe that's why so many relationships end. Because people are always trying to live in the future before living in the present. They're always promising forever, while forgetting to take care of the now. And the ironic thing is, when you take care of the now, forever happens. Naturally, without needing to be promised. The love that survives is the love that breathes in the present. Write the word in the comments, present. So I know that this made sense to you, because whoever understands this truth begins to live completely different relationships. And the most surprising thing is that when you learn to live love in the now, something changes within you. You begin to realize that presence is the true form of love, and that the now, this simple and often overlooked moment, hides a power that almost no one realizes, a power that completely transforms the way you connect with people. What destroys love isn't a lack of feeling, it's excessive expectations. Most people don't suffer from a lack of love, but from expecting the other person to be what they've idealized. We create a perfect image in our heads, a movie love, and then try to fit the other person into that role. But no one can live up to an invented character. And that's where frustration begins. Love ceases to be a meeting and becomes a demand. The truth is harsh, but it needs to be said. When you idealize, you don't love the other person. You love the idea you've created of them. Alan Watts explained it very simply. All expectations stem from the fear of losing control. We want to ensure that everything goes as planned, that the other person never changes, that love follows a beautiful, predictable script. But love is life, and life changes all the time. And the more you try to control, the more you kill the spontaneity that makes love real. Love needs freedom to breathe. It can't be kept under surveillance because what's monitored stops flowing. It's like trying to hold water in your hands. The more you press, the more it escapes. That's where many people get lost, because they think love is about making the other person fit into their own world. They want the other person to think the same way, feel the same way, act the same way. But love isn't about molding. It's about embracing. Love isn't about making someone be the way I want. It's about learning to dance with differences. And the problem is, the ego hates that. It wants predictability. It wants security. It wants a manual. But real love doesn't have a manual. It has surrender. And when you accept that the other person isn't there to complete you, but to accompany you, everything changes. Many people suffer because they believe that love has to be intense all the time. That if the other person doesn't demonstrate it all the time, they don't love. But mature love is calm, not noisy. It doesn't need to prove anything. Exaggerated displays often hide insecurity, and this is where idealizations hurt the most. You start comparing reality with what you had in your head and inevitably become disappointed. Love isn't supposed to be a fantasy. It's supposed to be true, even if simple. When you understand this, the weight lifts. You stop demanding that the other person save you, fulfill you, heal you, and you discover something liberating. Love isn't a necessity, it's a choice, every day with every gesture, and only those who understand this can build something lasting. Because true love doesn't come to solve your life, it comes to share the journey. What destroys relationships isn't a lack of love, it's the confusion between loving and possessing, between desiring and demanding, between living together and trying to control the other. You know that moment when you realize the other person is human, flawed, makes mistakes, and yet still chooses to stay. That's true love. It's when you understand that love is accepting imperfection and finding beauty in it. It's realizing that life doesn't have to follow the script you imagined to still be good. And the curious thing is that when you let go of control, love blossoms, because the other person stops feeling suffocated and begins to reach out willingly, not out of obligation. Basically, it's simple. Love grows when there's space. And that space only appears when idealizations fall away, when you stop wanting a soap opera love and start living a real love, with ups and downs, with good days and hard days, but full of presence. Write your words in the comments below. Real, so I know this made sense to you. Because when you understand that love is a construction and not a fantasy, you begin to see something even deeper, the secret of love that doesn't need promises to last. Love isn't made of speeches, it's built daily. And the curious thing is that most people want love but don't want the work it requires. They want to feel the heat, but don't want to light the fire. Building the now is this: understanding that love is action, not intention. It's looking at the other person and being truly present, without cell phones, without distractions, without thinking about what will happen tomorrow. It's being there, fully, experiencing what's happening in that moment, because it's only in the now that love happens, and only those who are present can feel it. Someone who truly loves you doesn't promise to change, they start to change. They don't promise to support you, they support you. They don't promise to listen to you, they listen. It's simple, but that's exactly what makes all the difference. Because the love that's built is made of small gestures that seem silly, but carry everything. Making a coffee without having to ask, sending a message just to check you arrived safely, respecting your silence when you don't want to talk. It's these attitudes that build the foundation of a true relationship. Love isn't about making big sacrifices every now and then. It's about small presences every day. Alan Watts said that life is like playing music, not to reach the last note, but to enjoy every sound as it unfolds. Love is the same. It's not a race to see who gets to happily ever after first. It's a dance. You need to feel the rhythm, adapt to the steps, and stay there, together, even when the melody changes. Building the now with someone is this: adjusting the pace, holding their hand, making mistakes together, and keeping dancing. Mature love doesn't shy away from mistakes. It learns from them. But many people don't understand this. They get caught up in words and forget about presence. They want the other person to show love, but they don't realize that showing love means being there, even when they have nothing to say. Those who build the now with you don't leave at the first silence. They understand that love also lives in the space between words, in the patience of waiting for the other person to breathe, in the strength to hold their hand when the world falls apart. It's this kind of love that grows, because it's real. Building the now is a choice. Every day, it's waking up and deciding to be present, even when tiredness sets in. It's choosing to talk instead of argue, listen instead of react, embrace instead of judge. It's in the small decisions that love gains strength. And the most beautiful thing is that when both choose this, the relationship transforms into something light, alive, and human. Because love isn't about being right, it's about being together. It's about looking at each other and thinking, we're building something here and that's worth more than any promise. Those who understand this stop waiting and start acting. Stop demanding what the other person isn't and start valuing what they do. Love isn't magic, it's constant work. And that's exactly what makes it so valuable. Because those who build the now with you don't need to promise the future. The future happens naturally. Write your words here in the comments. Build. So I know this touched you, because when you understand the power of being present and building love every day, you begin to see something much deeper, a truth that completely changes the way you see love and life. Love isn't a prison, it's a flow. And this is perhaps one of the hardest lessons to grasp, because most people have been taught to confuse love with control. They want to ensure the other person stays, that nothing changes, that the feeling lasts forever, the same way. But love isn't a static photo. It's a river. It moves, changes shape, sometimes overflowing, sometimes calming. And when you try to hold it back, what happens? It escapes. That's why so many relationships become burdensome, full of demands and insecurities, because we try to hold back what was meant to flow. Alan Watts talked a lot about the nature of things. He said that everything alive needs freedom to exist. A flower only blooms because the gardener doesn't squeeze it. He simply creates the right environment. Love is the same. You don't need to control the other person. You just need to care for the space where love grows. And that space is called freedom. Love doesn't flourish in fear. It flourishes in trust. Those who truly love don't want to hold you back. They want to see you fly and still choose to stay. The problem is that many people think freedom means disinterest, when in fact it's the opposite. Letting someone be who they are requires maturity. It's easy to love when someone does everything your way. It's difficult to continue loving when they think differently, feel differently, and choose paths you don't understand. But that's where love shows its strength. Because loving isn't about transforming the other into a copy of yourself. It's about respecting what makes them unique. When there's freedom, love stops being an exchange and becomes a surrender. You give because you want to, not because you need something in return. And you know what's most liberating? When you understand this, anxiety disappears. You stop measuring love in tests, messages, demonstrations. You stop living waiting for the other person to confirm what you already feel. Because those who truly love don't need surveillance, they need trust. And when there's trust, love becomes light. It doesn't suffocate, it inspires. It doesn't demand constant presence because it knows the bond is stronger than distance. Love as a flow also means understanding that it changes. Some days love is fire, others it's a breeze. Sometimes the other person needs space, and that's okay. Because mature love doesn't panic in the face of change, it adapts. Alan Watts said that suffering comes from resistance to what is natural, and what is natural is change. Love doesn't stop being love because it changes. It renews itself. It transforms along with people. What truly destroys love is fear. The fear of loss, the fear of being replaced, the fear of not being enough. And it's this fear that creates the invisible chains within relationships. But when you realize that true love doesn't depend on possession, but on connection, fear loses its power. To love is to trust in the movement of life. It's to know that, even if everything changes, What's real remains. Because love isn't a cage, it's an open sky. And when you learn to love like this, something inside you changes. You stop trying to hold on to the other person and start walking alongside them. Love stops being a struggle and becomes a light dance, where both of you freely choose each other every day. And the most beautiful thing is that when love is free, it doesn't go away. It comes back because it wants to stay. Write your words in the comments below. Flow. So I know this truth resonated with you, because when you understand the power of letting love flow, you begin to realize something even deeper about it. Something that has to do with awareness, presence, and a transformation that changes everything. True love is silent but powerful. It makes no promises about the future because it knows the only place it can exist is now. The now is the miracle that almost no one notices. Everyone lives looking ahead, planning for tomorrow, dreaming of forever, and ends up forgetting to experience what's happening right before their eyes. And that's why so many loves die. Not for lack of feeling, but for lack of presence. Alan Watts said that the present is the only real time, and that everything outside of it is an illusion. When you understand this, you realize that love doesn't need to be promised, it needs to be lived. Conscious love sees the other person as they are, without filters, without fantasizing, without trying to change them. It's about looking and truly being there with attention, because attention is the greatest proof of love there is. Being with someone and truly listening to what they say, observing their gestures, noticing what they feel even when they don't say anything. That's love. Love that lives in consciousness doesn't seek to control. It seeks to understand. And the more you understand, the less you judge. When there's awareness, love is no longer an ego game. It's a partnership of growth. But most people live on autopilot. They love in a rush. They listen while thinking about the answer. They're physically present but mentally elsewhere, and then they wonder why everything goes wrong. The truth is simple. You can't build anything solid when you're absent. Conscious love is like tending a flame. If you get distracted, it goes out. You need to be attentive, caring, and nurturing, not with pretty words, but with presence. The most transformative part of all this is realizing that conscious love isn't just between two people, it's also with yourself. When you treat yourself with respect, when you take care of your own thoughts, when you stop blaming yourself for everything, you create the inner space where true love can blossom. Without this, any relationship becomes dependent, because no one can love fully when they live disconnected from themselves. Watts said that love begins with self-knowledge, and this is what differentiates attachment from true love. Conscious love is light because it understands impermanence. It knows that everything changes, and it's not afraid of it. It doesn't promise, "I'll never leave you." It says, "I'll love you while I'm here, body and soul." And it's in this kind of love that life flourishes, because when the now is lived with presence, every gesture takes on real weight. A look becomes a universe, a touch becomes a language, a silence becomes a connection. And that's when you understand. True love doesn't need to be guaranteed, because it's already complete the moment it happens. Those who experience love this way awaken. They awaken to life, to themselves and to others. And this awakening is what Alan Watts called enlightenment, not a distant mystical experience, but the simple act of being fully present. It's realizing that the miracle isn't in what was promised, but in what's happening now as you read this, as you feel it. The now is the gift life gives you, and love is what transforms this moment into eternity. Now you understand that love doesn't need promises to be true. It just needs to be experienced in the now. This content made you see what so many people haven't yet, that real love is presence, awareness, and freedom. And when that realization hits, something changes inside you. It's the kind of transformation you can't keep to yourself. Like this video and subscribe to the channel, because that's how this content reached you, and that's how it will reach those who also need to awaken to this truth. Write the word "here" in the comments now to confirm that you're ready to experience love consciously. And stay tuned, because the next video will show you the next step in this journey, an even deeper level of connection and understanding, which will make you rethink everything you believed about love, presence, and purpose. What follows will move you even further.